Yo, what's up gamers? This is Damron with Trash Ass Gamers bringing you another veteran Elder Scrolls Online dungeon guide. This is for Selene's Web. Selene's Web is found in Reaper's March, which is of course found in Aldmeri Dominion. This is not too hard of a dungeon, pretty easy. It's one of my least favorite dungeons to run. It's kind of boring. There's not much to it. The scenery's kind of meh. It's not one of my favorite dungeons in the game, but we'll blast through this. It's not too hard. If you haven't seen these videos, I will keep them complete. I will fast forward a little bit as we move through the ads and keep it sped up to shorten the video a little bit. But I want to make sure that everyone knows where I'm at and how I got there. And we'll discuss mainly boss mechanics, and I'll focus on anything else in the dungeon that could potentially give you troubles or something I want to point out. So the first boss that we're gonna come up to is Treethane Kernan. Treethane Kernan does have a few humanoid adds with him, some bow and arrow guys, as well as just some melee enemies. You don't really need to worry about them too much. As long as you kind of stack them near the adds, you can take them out. Now she will do an AoE around her as she swings her blade. That doesn't really cause too much damage. You don't really need to worry about that too much. Overall, not a very hard boss at all, as you can see. Already dead. Doesn't have much health. And doesn't particularly cause too much damage to anybody. So as long as the tank holds the aggro and you kind of stay out of the little AoE attacks that she does, you're not really going to have too much problems there. So let's move on.
Right again. See how she does this.
Alright, so our next boss is Longclaw, which you saw up on top of the kind of tree up there. Now you can't actually shoot Longclaw until he comes down to fight you. In fact, if you actually shoot right here, boom, the arrow will come back and actually hurt you from that bubble. So you're going to want to kill those 4 jaguar-like animals, and eventually the boss will come down here and respawn all of them again. The Cinch spirits, which are spirits of all the cinches that you just killed. Now, Longclaw typically doesn't really cause too much damage. She will fire bows at you, but what's really going to cause the damage to you are the cinches that roll around. However, you don't want to focus too much of your attention on the adds because they will just respawn, as you'll see here. And in this particular fight, the other DPS that I was running with just kept focusing on the cinches, and I ended up basically soloing the boss while he was fighting cinches. So that's not really what you want to do. You really want to just focus your DPS on the boss, because as soon as you kill Longclaw, all the cinches will just disappear. Now until you do that, killing one isn't really going to do anything because it will just respawn in a relatively short amount of time. And then also, the longer that Longclaw stays alive, the more of these little AoEs that she'll drop onto the board that will cause not too much, but will cause a slow burn type of damage if you're inside of that AoE. So as you can see, she's got 4 right here right now, and honestly, if both DPS were focusing on Longclaw, then we would be done with this fight. So keep that in mind. You want to stay out of the AoEs. Don't focus too much on the cinches. Have your healer just heal through that damage, stack them on the boss, and your AoEs will kill them every once in a while, but really focus more on the boss to make that fight easier. Alright, so let's beat up a couple more adds, and I'll see you at the next boss. Alright, next up is Queen Aklia. Queen Aklia will burst with some Horvers to help out, and that's really about it. The Horvers can cause some little AoEs, as well as the main boss that actually stay on a player, and that damage will cause damage to other players, not necessarily the one that the AoE's around. and it doesn't really cause too much damage. If you have a decent healer, they're going to heal you through that. And other than that, the light and heavy attacks that the queen does aren't too much to worry about if you have a decent tank. And the health is very low on that boss, and you'll be able to burn her down extremely quick. So that's a super easy fight, almost like a little mini boss. So moving on. Alright, so next up, as you see, we're going to be killing these ads, and in the background, our big bear, Mr. Foulhide, spawns. Foulhide comes into the fight. Now, Foulhide will basically focus the attention on the tank as long as he holds aggro's, and that heavy attack shouldn't cause you too much problems. However, that really can do a lot of damage, so if you're the tank, you should probably roll dodge that heavy attack if you don't have really good sets and a lot of health. Now, also on the outside of the map will be some stranglers, but they don't really cause too much problems. They won't really suck you in too much like typical stranglers do throughout the game. Now, other than that heavy attack, the other thing Foulhide will do a charge attack, and that will kind of, make it annoying to keep AoEs on him because he will charge away. So keep your AoEs for when he finishes that charge. That's when you can lay him down. Don't lay him down if he's been standing around a while, or he'll likely just charge out of it. But other than those attacks, again, as like everything in this stupid dungeon, Foulhide is pretty easy. So moving on to Many Legs, also another very easy boss. This is a humanoid type boss. We'll have a few many-legged friends around her, but her attacks basically aren't anything to worry about. She kind of has some Nightblade style attacks where she'll hit you with her weapons, and she basically will just light and heavy attack the tank while you burn her down. And she'll continue to spawn little spiderlings into the fight, but don't focus on them. Just keep your attention on Menor, and before you know it, you again will be done with this fight. This is a super easy dungeon, pretty boring boss fights if you ask me. So let's just beat her up and we'll be on our way. Alright, so let's go ahead and read our scroll and go into hard mode. And again, this is not a very hard boss at all. So he's going to start with Selene on top of some webs. So you're going to fight her for a little bit, and eventually she'll kind of break the webs and you'll go down to the bottom portion of the map. In fact, the first time you probably play this dungeon, you're going to be like, wow, that was so easy. The spider has no health. But really, that's only the first part of the fight. The main boss will actually spawn out of her after you finish the spider off. So once you drop down into this area, which is basically the area that you're going to spend the majority of the fight on, you just want to finish off the spider version of Selene. Basically the spider will just light and heavy attack the tank, and it doesn't really do anything you need to worry about. Again, this is more of an intro, and boom, explodes out of her actual Selene. I guess Selene has been hanging inside a spider for some time, I don't know, but heaven forbid. So here she is. So let's focus on her, and she will do this AoE periodically that you saw there, and if you stand in that as DPS, that can certainly kill you, so make sure you stand out of that. Another thing that Selene is going to do is have this bear that you saw, almost the same as the Warden bear in the new class, that will come out and basically do a heavy attack down. Now that will definitely one-shot you as a DPS, which may have happened to him there. So you definitely want to roll dodge that. Now generally the tank should be able to keep that attack on him. And then she's also going to pull everybody in as a web. You need to shake that off and then bounce out of that AoE, because that AoE will definitely cause damage to you. And other than that, she's just going to light and heavy attack the tank. So that's the main thing that you really need to worry about, the bear and her AoE. Now, as you can see, we did pull her down this hallway and hold her in the back of this hallway. That is because in the area that we started, a lot of ads will spawn in during the fight. And the longer the fight goes on, the more ads that are going to spawn in. And we want to bring her back here because for some reason the ads don't really like to come down here and cause us much trouble in the back end of this little alley. So if we bring Selene down here, we can really just completely focus our attention on Selene and totally neglect those ads, which it took a minute for the other DPS to really understand. But when he comes down here to join, we'll be able to finish Selene off a little faster. Now, of course, you will get some ads down here, but not to the extent if you're in the arena area that's not down this little alley. So bring her down here, finish her off, and we'll talk about the monster set at the end. Alright, so like I said, really not a bad dungeon at all. Not one of my favorite. But the set that comes out here is Selene's set. It's going to give you extra stamina, and when you deal direct damage, you have a 15% to call on a primal spirit that mauls the closest enemy for 14,200 physical damage, which is basically that bear. It's a decent set. It does decent damage, but not used a lot. So if this video helped you guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.